Welcome to the All Jammed Up podcast presented to you by Music Never Stopped. Today is Monday, June 9th, and today we have Morgan and Andrew from the band Shedbugs.
What are you doing, podcast for Lot?
Yeah.
Come be on a Lot podcast.
Yeah, hell yeah, All Jammed Up.
This dude's doing a podcast. If you want to be on some podcast, come give an interview.
Hell yeah. Good morning, fools. Welcome to the All Jammed Up podcast. Today is Monday, June 19th. Today is Monday, June 9th. I'm your host, Clint Dotson, and today on the podcast we have Morgan and Andrew from the band Shedbugs. Shedbugs is a local psychedelic blues jam band from the Asheville area. They're going to be playing in the All Jammed Up Fest next month. So I thought it would be perfect to have them on, kind of learn a little bit more about them, learn about their sound, their inspiration. And we had a great time. Those dudes were awesome. We bullshitted a lot, too, towards the end. Some psychedelic experiences, what animals we think we could beat in the wild. So it was really a fun time for me. Those interviews that always become more conversational are the best. Love doing them. So check out the Shedbugs interview. Also, I misspoke at one point. For any of my Kindle Street heads out there, I said that Ben they found on Craigslist when it was actually Jake. So I just had to correct that before you guys all heard it. So let's get right into it. Fun interview today with Morgan and Andrew.
Hey, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay calm.
everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Alrighty, guys. We are here with Morgan and Andrew from the band Shedbugs. How are we doing today, guys?
Freaking awesome, man.
Can't complain, man.
Yeah. We were just debating the hydration of beer compared to water after a workout. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, cheers.
It's one of the best recovery beverages you can have. The carbs in there, actually.
Shouts out One World Brewing.
Yeah.
I wasn't buying it. But,
Oh, you gotta hold the
I'm
microphone.
sold.
Sorry.
There we go.
I think you should.
There we go.
Yeah, that's better. So I guess to just get right into it, you guys have been friends long before the band, right?
That is true.
Long before college, UNCA.
8 years now. Yeah, 8 years as of like this month.
Yeah, we met like our first week of college, and kind of really immediately really bonded over our mutual love for jam bands and improvisational music and all that stuff. And we always talked about the idea of kind of starting a band. And when COVID hit and we had all this free time, we finally committed, and here we are.
Yeah. Actually, I picked up bass over COVID with my with the stimulus check money.
Yeah.
So I guess one good thing came out of that because I was in online classes and I was like, I need something to occupy my time.
Yeah.
So I picked up bass and we almost pretty much immediately started writing songs and jamming together. Probably a couple weeks, maybe a month after I got that.
So how long
bass.
did you know bass before?
No.
You just got pretty good at it pretty quick?
This man blew my mind.
Jamming with this guy, I had to be a lot better than I was at the time.
Yeah.
And pick up on things that, with all improvisational music, it's meant to push you outside of your comfort zone. And I was doing that like week one after picking up the bass.
Yeah, we
that's
started out
badass.
strong. But I gotta say, like, really handing it to this man. I really showed him the basics. I'm not really a bass player. I can play it fine, but I'm not like a technician like that with it. So I kind of just showed this man the basics, and like, man, he just freaking hit the ground running from there, and has come such a long way. And I'm freaking proud of this dude, I gotta say. So that's how we started out, and
So just to rewind though, have you been a musician like your whole life? You've always played guitar?
Most of my life, yes, sir. I studied music at UNCA. We were also both in the English department, but yeah, I've been playing music for a long time. Really since high school.
Mm-hmm.
I started learning guitar. I was playing in the jazz band a lot in high school, and that really inspired me and really got me into improvisational music. I was listening to John Coltrane before I was listening to the Grateful Dead and stuff like that.
So those were like early influences for you? It wasn't like Grateful Dead, Fish wasn't kind of what caught your ear first?
Yeah, totally. And I have been a Fish guy for a long time, but I hadn't really, dived into it like that. But I mean, jazz was really what got me into this kind of music, from high school. Yeah.
And when you were in high school, were you like in any like garage bands with friends, or you just play? Yeah, you were.
Yes, sir. Funny enough, we kind of we have a reunion band that we just started. You might have seen on like my socials or whatever. I'm playing with this jazz fusion group right now called Fully Processed, which is a bunch of my friends from high school. We were all in the jazz band together. And like 3 out of the 4 of us are living in Asheville now, and we were just like, man, perfect time to get back together. Sent some videos to our band director, our old band director, and he just loved it.
Nice.
So it's cool. So yeah, I did have a little band with them. We weren't like serious back then or anything. And really it wasn't up until like the last like 3 years or so that I really started getting serious about gigging. And a lot of that had to do with our collaborations and aspirations. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So you guys didn't know each other before college. You met in college.
Yep. In college, yes, sir.
Used the stimulus money to get a bass. Then we started doing some just improv jams, just the two of you guys.
We were jamming in his apartment room that was just slightly off campus, and really, frankly, pissing off his roommates. But we would like go on like Reddit Live and just put a phone up somewhere in the room and jam for just hours.
Yeah.
Like a chord, a couple of chords. And we would, because the world was shut down. There was nothing
else to do, yeah.
So I'd bring my bass over to his apartment and we would just play together just for hours on end. Yeah.
You guys probably were the worst roommates, huh?
It was his place. I wasn't getting the complaints, so...
There's a reason we moved into a house.
Yeah, I was going to say, you two live together now, right?
Yeah,
okay, do. Gotcha. So how long into like jamming and all of that for the whole like formation of Shedbugs?
I think so for our debut album Midnight Moth, we had a lot of pieces of those songs written from, I guess, our apartment jam sessions. We would write pieces of songs, and Morgan would write a chord progression, I'd write some lyrics, we'd think, hey, let's do something with this. He started playing with this drummer named Charles, who's been in a ton of local projects. He's no longer drumming with us, but he really helped form Shedbugs. He actually came up with the name of the band. Produced all our stuff. Continues to work with us on production stuff. And he was drumming with another band, Merry Metal, at the time. And I knew Charles from high school. I've known him for forever.
And where are you guys from, real quick?
I'm from Wilson, North Carolina.
Okay.
Winston-Salem.
Gotcha. So you guys are local-ish to Asheville.
Local-ish.
Yeah. Okay.
But Charles was drumming for this other band, and we started jamming with Charles, and just kind of formed the band from there. Had a singer at one point. There have been a few other members that have kind of like passed through sporadically.
Okay.
But
there have been many.
There have been many. Yeah, we've pretty much maintained the core of the band.
Do you feel like now the 4 of you guys is a pretty solid core? Like it's a good...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
We've really settled in at this point, after a long rotational period and lots of folks in and out, we've really settled to a point with, really solid members, and the pieces have really come together. And we've definitely settled in with the current band. Absolutely.
And where does the name Shedbugs come from?
So Charles, he had this, I'd say this shed was probably the size of the room we're in.
Okay.
He lived in this big shed outside of his parents' place in Marshall, North Carolina. And he basically built his own little recording studio with his bed tucked into the corner. So we would just call it the shed. We'd go out there and record and jam and rehearse and all that stuff. And there were these just massive, just like Jurassic bugs that would get in there sometimes, and we'd have to fend them off. And we went through a few names when we were like just starting to gig, and Charles was like, let's just go with Shedbugs. And we were like, sure.
That works, yeah.
It works.
Before that, it was Jamuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's someone's Reddit name, isn't it?
It's probably me.
Yeah, okay.
It might be me, yeah.
Because I always look up, like whatever the band name is or whoever's in the band, I look them up on Reddit, and I typed in Shedbugs under Reddit, and you had made a post about, you're like, there's a cool Asheville band playing at the All Jammed Up Fest in Kendall Street, and I was like, Januel L. Jackson, that's pretty funny.
Self-promoting, nice.
Shameless. I'm shameless about it.
It's funny because there's one comment on it, and it's dependent school, like 160 or something,
Yeah.
and that's Lewis from Kendall Street's little brother.
Oh.
So he's always like gassing up Kendall Street and the podcast, and I always know it's him, and I'm like, Riley's the man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, we spent so much freaking time in that shed. Like I can't even begin to try to like estimate the hours, but you know, and that was where we developed the whole sound, and you know, which we always describe as an improvisational blend of blues, funk, and psychedelic rock. You know, and the process of recording this first album and getting all our music together was pretty grueling at times. He mentioned we had a singer when we started out, and it was unfortunate, but it just wasn't working out. So I kind of took over the reins there, and just really took off from there. But yeah, that's shed bugs.
When you said it doesn't work out, I'm always curious, like, what in a band, like, I don't want to badmouth this person or anything, but like, it's not working out. Like, what does that look like from the band side of thing? Like, to get better, we have to part. Like, how does that conversation kind of unfold, and what's the kind of catalyst for it?
Yeah.
For this particular instance, I think it was because we had a residency at a local hotel, the Foundry downtown.
Okay.
And we were playing every 2 weeks there for, probably almost a year.
Yeah.
And we were performing with her, and it got to the point where it was, for lack of a better term, embarrassing. To continue. And I think there was a lot of performance anxiety with this person. And at a certain point, we all came to the mutual agreement, like, if we're going to continue, if we're going to take this seriously. They also really, really weren't a fan of the jam band genre or... So
the mission's not aligned, it's hard
exactly.
to... Yeah.
A lot of it was creative differences, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big contributing factor. Creative differences in that person's own performance anxiety.
Is there, like, animosity there, or is it just kind of, like, for us to...
There's a little...
Okay. I'm always curious, because, like, you always see bands, like, band members leave or kind of get kicked out, and it's like, how is that? Because I think of, like, from a business standpoint, like, hey, it's not working out here, we gotta let you go. And sometimes the person is just like, I don't really want this job anyways. So I kind of always wonder that in bands.
There is, not on our end, but there is a little bit of animosity.
She just didn't know what to do when we were going off on these jam tangents, and we always tried to encourage her to pick up a tambourine or some keys or something, you know. But really, like, it just wasn't for her, and I think, like, she's probably realized that by now, and, like, you know, at this point, like, everything's fine. It was obviously for the best, you know. It just wasn't the right project there. And even after that, we had a lot of different members, man. Cam Norton he was a Cam and his Damn Jam Band, which is pretty popular out of Athens. He played with us for the better part of a year, probably. Yeah. You know, we had a sax player at one point who was phenomenal. He is moving up to Philly, I believe. But now we have Fleming Talton drumming with us.
What's his name?
Fleming Talton. He's played with a number of groups around here, like Bum Monk is probably the most notable. And
it's a powerful name he has.
I know.
Strong.
Yeah, it's like a Scottish warrior.
Yeah. He is an absolute rock. He's amazing. And we've gotten so used to him now, like, I think we would just call it quits without him, you know?
Yeah.
And most recently, we inducted Andrew Miller on keys into the band.
Okay.
And he's filled the role fantastically from the start. And I mean, I think every show we've played with this group, you know, just gets better and better.
I think we at the beginning of the year released a live album at Grey Eagle, and I think that was Andrew's second show with us ever.
Mm-hmm.
It was after maybe 2 rehearsals with us.
And he crushed.
He crushed, man.
Yeah.
He did. He continues to impress me every time we play. And Fleming, we picked up through Reddit. After Charles quit drumming with us, and we were like, hey, we've got like a 2-week tour planned in August. You got 3 months. You want to be in the band? And he was like, yeah, okay, sure. And it's just continues to impress me every time we play.
It's cool hearing success stories about like getting a band member from Reddit or like I'm pretty sure Chemistry Company, Ben the guitarist, they found him on Craigslist.
Fleming on Reddit.
Yeah. So that's hilarious. Like hearing a success story of that.
Yeah, and sometimes it really does feel like an against all odds type thing. You know, like what are the chances that? Because the real audition, I think, is like, are you cool? Can we tour with you for like a week to 2 weeks? You know what I mean? Can we be around you for days on end? And that's the real audition, if you ask me. Obviously, you have to be competent on an instrument, but really, at the end of the day, it's about, you know, are you cool? You know?
I'm doing the same. I told you I quit my job and I'm doing like hardscaping now, and I went into this job with no knowledge of anything. Yeah. But my crew likes me, so they're like, all right, he'll learn it, he'll figure it out, but we like hanging out with him for 8 hours a day, so we'll keep him around.
Man, no, it's a real thing. Yeah.
I mean, you gotta spend that much time with someone. You don't want to be with someone who's like a dick or annoying or something.
100%. Yeah. So yeah, we're really happy with where we've landed.
Nice. So as the band has kind of evolved, different members coming through, I'm sure since you guys started jamming, your music taste has kind of evolved too. What bands do you kind of want to like, I know you're making your own sound, so I don't want to say copy, but like, what sounds do you hear and like, oh, we want to try something like that, we want to kind of move that way?
Totally, man. I mean, I was going to try not to say it, but I'm such a Trey fanboy, you know.
Yeah.
You know, if anyone that comes to our shows can probably tell. So that's always been a big one for me. But we are always looking for different flavors, you know, in jams because, you know, a lot of times being an improvisational band, you fall into what's familiar and end up being really repetitive. So we're always looking to covers that really inspire us to play differently.
I like that Althea you guys do. That's kind of got a fresh take on it too.
Yeah, we did like an Eminence front. We're doing some Tedeschi Trucks band. We try to get different genres in as much as we can. We'll play jazz numbers, you know, like some John Coltrane.
Here. And on my end, I'm a big fan of like classic '70s prog bassists, Geddy Lee, Chris Squire, Roger Waters, John Entwistle. And I know Andrew on keys, he's a big fan of classical music. He really likes a lot of low tempo, smooth jazz. Fleming's more of a hard-hitting drummer, so we've got all these just influences coming in from all sides.
Fleming's a like classic rock guy.
He is a classic rock guy, yeah. So I think all of us try to pull influences from various genres of music, and it blends together really well in a live show. Because, you know, I think who was it that said it about the Who that all of them are playing lead on their instrument? I think a lot of times that can be us, but it blends together so well. Like, we'll be able to look at each other and know what's going on.
Yeah.
Hey, it's your turn. Do something cool.
Yeah. Do you guys like? I'm always curious how different jam bands do like their cues for when they're in that improv. Do you guys like? Is it just like a look, or is it like?
So generally, and we all orchestrate this, you know, in our own moments. But I think for the most part, a lot of the time, I feel like the train conductor. So these guys will see me kind of put my fist up in the air, and they know that means one of three things. Either we're going back to the chorus, we're changing keys, or what was the third one?
I think it's two things.
or changing keys, or going back to the original, or whatever. So that's like the main thing. I'll just kind of you know, just put my fist up there, and it just somehow comes together, you know. But dynamics wise, you know, I mentioned I often feel like the train conductor. But you know, just because too, like I'm driving the jams a lot of the time, and you know, these are all songs that I wrote, you know, chords that I wrote. Oh, I wrote the chord. This man write this. So pretty much our dynamic here is like I'll put together the chords, the melodies, music, whatever. And Andrew, who is a really skilled writer, writes our lyrics.
So how does that work? Like, you're like, hey, I have these new chords, put words in it. Or do you like, hey, I have these really good words, you make a chord? Or is it kind of a mix of both?
It's a mix of both, I'd say. And like for songs like Spire, I had this bass line that I really liked, and I showed it to Morgan, and I had these words I had written. He's like, okay, cool bass line. So these are going to be all the chords. This is how the music's going to go. And we wrote Spire in probably 2 hours. Just sitting down, pumping out lyrics, seeing what worked, seeing what we wanted. It's always worked really well with us that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times Morgan will have some chord progression that sounds really good, and I'm like, okay, let me write to this. Sometimes I'll just pump out a couple stanzas and say, hey, what can we do with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say if there's a pattern or not to it. So a lot of the times this will just stem from like an idea. You know, he'll have an idea of a song, some lyrics, and other times that emerges from the music. You know?
Okay.
So yeah, hard to say if there is a pattern. It
So-
just happens.
So you have a couple, you do some solo stuff as well.
I do.
And you have a couple other projects, correct?
I do. So Andrew and I are both members in Seismic Sutra,
Okay.
a local psychedelic rock band, definitely on the heavier side. We're playing at like Music Hall One Stop on like June 14th, I think, is
Nice.
our next show with them. And where we are kind of the brains of this project, it's kind of vice versa in this other band, you know. Torin Brown and Jono Sarud put all this together, and you know it's not a jam band. It's all very you know, repertoire for the most part. But
kind of a faster,
I always like to work in my little noodling where I can. But we have loved the music from the start, and I've been playing with them probably close to like at least 8 months now or so. And Andrew joined up in like January, February, I think. December. Yeah, and you know, I mentioned my newer jazz fusion project, Fully Processed. This is definitely like, you know, we're probably going to be doing this for like the next year or so. You know, it's not like a permanent thing, but we just wanted to get together and gig while we could. And you also mentioned I do a lot of solo acoustic shows.
Yeah, I see there's a lot on Instagram and stuff. Yeah.
You know, pretty standard. You know, I just whip out the old looper. I do some bluegrass, do some Grateful Dead. You know, I just released a solo album called Here I Am. So of course I play all those numbers as well.
And is that originals?
All originals, yes sir.
And you're writing the music for that?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Good for you, man.
Yeah, you know, it was fun and new for me. You know, very simple music, but I found a lot of creativity in that more simple folky style, and you know, I have some bluegrass stuff in there. You know, outlaw country stuff like that. Yeah.
For that kind of music, like bluegrass, outlaw country, who's kind of like on your radar for those kind of bands right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Billy Strings.
The king.
Yeah, obviously. And I've always been a fan of like Doc Watson numbers as well, just because not all of them, but a lot of them always felt like kind of like mystical to me almost, you know, in some way that's hard to put my finger on. And I've always loved like, you know, Bob Dylan's storytelling style, just really honest lyrics, you know. I write a little differently from Andrew, I think. You know, I'm not crazy about like imagery and beating around the bush. I'm a little less artful with it than Andrew is. You know, a little less artful.
Effective.
Yeah.
He's a little more effective, I would say.
I mean, I have a song on that solo album that's just me just absolutely shitting on Christian nationalists. You know? I'm not nice about it either. You know? But
that's like the most Asheville thing ever. My solo bluegrass album has shitting on the Christian nationalists.
You're so right, man. You're so right.
We're a product of our environment.
So for your lyric writing to be so like artistic and what's the word to use, imagery, what do you think got you to that point, kind of being that creative in that writing space?
Yeah, well, kind of like Morgan's always played music. Probably since I can remember, I've always been writing.
Really?
Yeah.
Even when you weren't playing music, you were writing music?
I've been writing consistently since I was probably 12 years old.
Nice.
Yeah, being a writer is something I've always wanted to be.
Now, when you say being a writer, like, is it just a songwriter, or like you writing like short stories and stuff like that?
All sorts of
Okay.
stuff. I mean, I just wrote a kid's book.
Nice.
And I'm working on a full-length book right now.
Cool, man.
So I've got some writing projects outside of the band. But I've always really, really enjoyed poetry and just the music you can create with just words.
Yeah.
I think there's something truly beautiful about that. And so when we started jamming together and Morgan was putting together these just incredibly like psychedelic, just sonic arrangements, I was like, I can write words that reflect this. I know I can.
That's cool, man.
And obviously Robert Hunter, is a huge inspiration. Robert Hunter, Roger Waters, again, I'm a big Pink Floyd guy. But I go back to all these just classic lyricists and some of just the greatest songwriters of our generation and other generations, and just kind of think I could, I can mimic that a little bit in my own way. And it's always come naturally to me. I wrote the lyrics to Fool's Gambit in like an evening.
I remember that evening.
Yeah.
Were you the one that wrote the incredibly introspective Half-Baked Potato?
I did, yes. I did write Half-Baked. Morgan wrote the
potato.
I wrote the lyrics to it in the shed in about 5 minutes.
Well, I had this idea.
It was Morgan's idea, yeah.
Yeah, the night before he wrote Half-Baked Potato, I really screwed up dinner, trying to make dinner for my girlfriend, and just overcooked the steak and half-baked the potatoes. And, just started fooling around with the guitar and came up with that kind of goofy sounding,
It kind of reminds me of like a song Candlemas Street would do.
Dude, you're so right.
That aged white cheddar.
Dude,
yeah.
Well, don't they have one number two? It's like, I'm sorry about the cobbler.
Yeah, sorry about the cobbler.
Yeah, man. Yeah, something like that. So I mean, that's like a 4-line song, We're like,
It's so good.
No need to get deep with this one. No need.
Where did the nickname "The Sandwich in the Swamp" come from? So in my research, I found that Morgan is the sandwich, Andrew is the swamp, and I need to hear why.
Dude,
I think the swamp's a little easier to explain.
Explain the swamp.
So when we met, we were both rushing a fraternity, Sigma Nu at UNCA.
Okay.
Which was, as far as fraternities go, a really pretty well put together group of hippie misfits.
I feel like the JMU Signu too is pretty cool. Of all the frats, they were pretty cool too.
And it's an Asheville fraternity.
Yeah.
So there's
a
only
JMU frat's a little different.
Yeah. There's only like one way it can go. But when we were pledging at the time, they gave all of us nicknames, and mine was Swamp, because one of the older brothers at the time said that I just looked like I crawled out of the Louisiana Bayou, and it really stuck. And that was like, people I didn't know would refer to me as Swamp, and I'm like, how did you learn this? I worked on campus for a while, and my boss referred to me as that. So it's just pretty much clung to me like a ghost my whole life.
That's so funny. I love a good nickname.
Yeah, it is kind of a raw-based nickname. Like honestly,
yeah.
I do appreciate it as a bassist nickname.
What's that idea you had for like band branded cologne? The Bog by Swamp.
Oh yeah, the Bog by Swamp.
Yeah.
That's after the hot sauce line. We'll do the cologne next.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We can do it. We should make a jam. Do a Shed Bugs all jammed up collab on a jam.
Yeah. I think. God, where did we get the sandwich from for you?
So I just had this whole conversation with a coworker today. She's like, I was looking at your Spotify bio, and I saw they call you Morgan the Sandwich Bevis, and I'm like, yeah. So I guess like someone comes up to you is like, hey, they call me the Sandwich. You want to know why? Like your first assumption is to think like, oh, because like no matter which way you flip me, the bread comes first, right? Like, the real answer I like to say is because I'm stuffed with meat.
Those are both crazy answers.
I know.
It's a crazy nickname. It is
The
crazy.
bread comes first one is pretty good. Yeah. That one's pretty funny.
But yeah, Fleming always carries around koozies wherever we go. Our drummer Fleming, And it's great. Like, he carries around like 2 or 3 koozies for like any size glass everywhere he goes, and we'll just.
That's like big aunt moves.
I know,
it's like
right?
someone's aunt does that.
Seriously,
my aunt.
It's hilarious. Like, we'll be at a gig and he gets a drink and back pocket koozies it. Did you bring that? You know. So we call him the Coos.
The Coos.
And
nice.
we were trying to come up with a good one for our keyboardist Andrew Miller. And I think we finally landed on a good one on tour, the Precipice.
The Precipice.
Yeah, which I think really made sense. 'Cause Andrew's style, on the keys is very, I want to say almost like Baroque or something, you know what I mean?
That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah, well, he's not afraid to get dissonant, and he's not afraid to get weird, but he's really good at supplying those like backing chord foundation at the same time. So we felt like that was kind of fitting for him, and it just sounds cool. So.
Okay, so on top of sticking with goofy things within the band, what the fuck is a kudoclasm?
Oh man. Okay, so to
let the people who's listening know, kudoclasm is a name of one of your songs.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
And right now it's an instrumental, and we're thinking about re-recording it. I actually had some old lyrics for it that really don't work, so I want to rewrite some lyrics for that. So there's this book called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows.
Okay.
And it's words that don't exist but speak to things that everybody experiences. Like, I think the most popular example from this is the word sonder, which doesn't appear in any dictionary, but in the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, sonder means looking at somebody like I'm looking at you right now and recognizing that, holy shit, you're a person, you have your own life outside of what we're doing.
Yeah.
You have your own outlook on the world that is totally separate from mine, and it's meant to make you look small. Kudoclasm is a word from the dictionary that I've really grown to appreciate, and I cannot remember right now the definition of it. I can look it up real quick.
Let's look it up.
I think he's got it.
Nice.
And there was a while when Charles was drumming that we wanted to do, like, him and I, like a little project based around the dictionary.
A
But
cascading crisis of self-doubt.
Yep.
Right, yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
It was a bad time for me.
A cascading crisis of self-doubt.
But no, I really encourage you to like go through and like look at some of these completely made up words for things that everybody experiences but just don't have a name for.
Rubetosis, do you know what that is?
What is it?
Rubetosis is the unsettling awareness of your own heartbeat, whose tenuous muscular throbbing feels less like a metronome than a nervous ditty your heart is tapping to itself.
Oh yeah.
That sounds terrible.
Oh yeah.
There's a few here that are.
Most of them are not happy.
Well, it is Obscure Sorrows.
It is Obscure Sorrows. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm just stuck looking at all these things. Yeah, I'm going to look at that later.
But we were talking on songs from that EP. We are planning on doing an album this year. We do have some new songs, that are cooking right now. Like we'll Half Baked Potato, Hydrofunk, all this EPs and singles stuff we'll find on there. But we do really want to make like a second act or something to Kudoclasm,
I'd love that.
Yeah. Is what we've been talking about. So stay tuned there.
Okay, cool. And then Insecticide, another one of your guys' songs. Whose cat is that?
Oh man, that's my cat. Her name is .com.
Okay.
And
.com.
We were planning this EP and we just could not decide what we wanted for it. So that's just a dumb picture of my cat that I put words over. And we had Half Baked Potato on there.
Yeah.
And we were like, let's just make it goofy. It's funny. We like to have fun with it, if you couldn't tell.
If you see this cat regularly, you would know it's a really funny picture of this cat.
Yeah.
That is a very funny picture of the cat. Yeah. Yeah, but she lives with us at the house and does not like when we have rehearsals or make loud noise.
Yeah. So let's talk about the biggest event of the summer. All jammed up. One Road West. You guys are playing on it. Everybody else on the bill has been on the podcast, so obviously we had to get you guys before. For the people that have never like heard of you or seen one of your shows, what kind of can they expect on July 19th when you guys play?
So they can expect really high highs, really chill lows, and I mean, don't expect anything aside from that. You know what I mean? To be honest, because we don't even know what's going to happen. But we always show up there and give it our all, and I think that's really part of the fun in being a jam band is getting up there and being like, we have no idea what this is going to be like either. You know, so that's part of the fun of it. But content-wise, you can always expect, like, we generally like to do a 50-50 mix of originals and covers at our shows. We find that's been a pretty good way to sell ourselves and keep, engagement. So obviously we do a lot of Grateful Dead, Fish covers, all sorts of stuff, really. But yeah, I alluded earlier, blues, funk, psychedelic rock, all that stuff, if you like Fish, you'll like us. That's what I say.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. We don't have any, there's a Fish band in Asheville, and I was thinking about getting them, and then I got Sons of Stars, and they have some of the same guys in it, so.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know Alex.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
Yeah, Alex is the man.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you guys, I know you were saying you really like Kendall Street, so you were stoked about being on.
Yeah, I alluded earlier before we started, but I want to say maybe 2 years ago or something like that now, they were doing this event at the Asheville Music Hall called the Psychedelic Circus.
Oh, with the Snosberries, yeah.
Yeah, with the Snosberries. And I went one year just alone, and I just like, well, it's a Psychedelic Circus. I'm just gonna dose acid for this and go alone, and see how it is. And man, like I was not disappointed. And Kendall Street Company opened for the Snosberries, and that absolutely blew me away with how fun it was, how goofy it was, how everyone was totally engaged,
Yeah.
and they just really lean in and just really commit, and it was so fun. And so when you brought up this festival, I'm like, oh my God, we get to play with Kendall Street Company. Like, this is awesome, dude, So yeah, I love those guys, We are, I've been planning to reach out to them too, because we're planning a tour up through Virginia later in September this year. So I'm probably going to reach out to them, see if they have any good recs or if they want to join up for a show, see what happens there. We'll see.
Yeah, I thought when doing it, I wanted to do like 2 bluegrass groups and then 2 more like jam funk groups.
Yeah.
And me and you had been talking on Instagram for a while before I made the festival. And then I knew I was going to do Kendall Street, and I listened to some of your songs, and I was like, I feel like that's kind of a good compliment to like Kendall Street and Shed Bugs, and then Sons of Stars and Pickety Split, like bluegrass jam and then just like funk jam. So I thought it would be a really good kind of compliment too.
I thought the same thing, man.
Yeah. And I wanted to get another Asheville band too. I was like, want to keep it in the neighborhood,
100%. I mean, especially since Helene, man, that was a crazy time for everybody, obviously, us as well. We were fine through all of that. But like the last time we played at One World West was really right after Helene, and we had a really successful benefit show there that we played with Dirty Bird, and it was really great. But I'm super stoked to be back. Are we on the indoor stage? I don't know if
We're going to be outside.
Outside, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's awesome.
We're going to be outside, and then we'll have like vendors inside, like selling stuff.
Yeah.
Have a food truck out there. So make sure to buy your ticket for July 19th, All Jammed Up Festival.
We're being filmed? Oh, Lord.
I didn't even know.
Oh, man.
Speaking of being like friendly with other bands, the band Mojo Hand.
Oh, you know Mojo Hand.
Dude, I just interviewed Kyle Gordon a couple weeks ago.
Oh, is that the red beard guy?
No, Kyle Gordon he's like a comedian that does like parody music. And he brought that band with him on the road. He did like a whole tour.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
we played with them on our first ever tour. We played a show with them in Charleston at this really cool place called Awandagh Green. which is
Okay.
basically this dentist's backyard. And he just hosts these huge shows back there every Wednesday. It's awesome.
You guys definitely know who Kyle Gordon is if you saw him.
Surely, yeah.
Like he just does he just did like that song. It's like making fun of like millennial music, and it's like we are young.
Oh my God! Yeah. I know
That's
exactly what
Kyle
you're
Gordon.
talking about.
I interviewed
Yeah.
him, and he brought Mojo Hand with him on like a full tour.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I remember Mojo.
The Mojo Hand guys were cool. We had a weird situation with them, I remember, in this place. So this place, I'm emailing the Awandot, this place in Charleston we played with them, and they're like, hey, we got a bunkhouse that's totally free for bands to use, you know what I mean? And we get there, they're like, oh, hey, Mojo Hand is also staying in there, but should be plenty of space for y'all. We get there after our show, not enough space. Not enough space at all.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so we kind of walked it. It was not a nice place either, to be honest. But we kind of went in there and like kind of looked around a little bit. It was like, let's get a hotel.
That's so funny.
And they had already set up all their stuff, and I don't think they knew that we were also staying there, so it was just kind of an awkward, okay, so now we have to cohabitate a space. And we got here last, so we're gonna let you guys have it.
That happened to me. I lived in New York like right after college. I had a job at a country club up there, and it was free housing, but it was like dorm style. And I was like, hey, I'm graduated college. I'm not sharing a room with like an intern or something. Like, there's enough rooms, give them to somebody else. And then like the second week, some dude like key cards into my room, comes in, starts putting the stuff in, and I'm like, nah, dude, you're in that room.
Yeah.
I was like, you're in that room. And he was like, no, they told me I'm in this room. I'm like, you are in that room,
Yep.
dude. I was like, I know who's next door. You're with him.
Yep.
Let me clear it up for you.
Yeah. You mentioned dosing acid for the psychedelic circus. When you guys were heavy into the jams during COVID, kind of getting to know each other musically, was there a lot of that involved?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'd say maybe like a lot is a relative term.
Uh-huh.
I would say every time we did, there was jamming involved.
Yeah.
But probably 90% of our jams were sober.
Now, there was one night, I don't know if you remember this.
This is what I wanted. I wanted a good story.
Yeah.
So we both tested positive for COVID. And we didn't have like symptoms or anything. So we're just like, shit, let's just take acid. And I remember that was a big day for us.
Well, it was a
developing.
big day because at the same time, for some reason, Duke Energy cut our power.
Yeah.
So
Dude,
we
it always
are
happens like that.
we're jamming, we're tripping really hard, and then it just immediately gets night. We cannot turn on a single light. I think we used Morgan's green lightsaber to light our way throughout our apartment the entire night.
Black Series.
Great time, honestly.
Yeah.
It really was.
I had a similar story with that one time. My cousin came into town, and I actually have two similar stories to the stories you just told. But my cousin came into town, and I was like, we're gonna eat a bunch of mushrooms and like hang out at my house tonight. And we lived in the middle of Tampa, and it was like July. We eat like a bunch of mushrooms out at this bar, and they're like, all right, let's go home. By the time it hits us, it'll be over. We get to the house, and the power is out. So it's like 90 degrees in my house. It's like, we lived in like the ghetto too of Tampa, and we were just like, fuck it, let's make the most of it. And my cousin, who's like at the time didn't listen to like any jam band music or anything, I put on the Grateful Dead, and it was like a scene out of the movie. He's like laying down on the ground, like tripping balls, and he just sits up and he's like, dude, who is this? And I was like, it's the Grateful Dead, man.
Dudes when they discovered Jerry, man.
Yeah.
Many such cases.
And
honestly,
then another
many.
one too. I went home for Christmas. I was still living in Florida at this time, and like my dude that I used to get mushrooms with, he was like, dude, I can give you like a whole ounce of mushrooms right now, like hook it up real cheap. And I was like, sure, I'm here. Don't have to worry about getting it there. So I get like all these mushrooms. I get back to Florida. I have COVID, and I wasn't sick either, but I had COVID. Yeah. And my work was like, we're gonna pay you for 2 weeks, but you can't come in. And I was like, okay, perfect.
Sweet.
And my roommate left, and I had all these mushrooms, so every day I would just grind up the mushrooms and put them on like spaghetti because I couldn't taste them, so I would just have like spaghetti sauce noodles and then mushrooms and just like watch Netflix all day.
So that's the way to do it, man.
Yeah.
There was one time we were tripping with our friend Miles, he's a closeted jam band fan. I know it. I know he is. He claims to hate it. I know he likes it.
We took him to fish and he loved it.
He was dosed, but we just started like noodling around for maybe 30, 45 minutes straight while coming up, and he's just like leaned back there, just like, whoa. And it probably didn't sound good, to be honest. Not gonna toot any horns. It was probably pretty mid playing.
Yeah.
But,
I can't remember.
that was the night Gabe came over later, and we had the whole conversation about fighting bears.
Oh my God.
That was that night.
Dude,
yeah.
Okay, no.
Do you guys think you could beat up a bear?
Okay, I have very strong opinions on this subject.
Blackberry, probably.
Look, if I have a decent enough blade, if the bear gets claws and teeth, I deserve a good, 4 or 5 inch blade, right? I truly, in my heart of hearts, my ego all the way up here, I truly think I could.
There's I deserve a blade.
Now, I think I could beat a cheetah in an octagon.
Wait, go on.
So, I've watched this, I've had this debate with so many people, and I stick to what I say that I can beat him because it's never going to happen. So I can say whatever I want. But the reason for this is there's this thing on Netflix. It's probably when I was eating mushrooms, watching Netflix for 2 weeks. But it's like Hunters or something.
Dude, the Amazon show?
I think so. And it just follows a cheetah for 3 days. And they're so bad at hunting. All they can do, obviously they're very fast.
Yeah.
So, you're in an octagon. They can't get that fast in an octagon. And they weigh 60 pounds.
Yeah.
So...
I mean,
you protect your neck,
juke
That's a
out.
good point.
Yeah. Because that's what they're gonna go for is your neck, and then if you can grab, they're 60 pounds. That's not a lot.
I feel like you could get a cheetah with how the bull tamer guys get the sheets out there.
Yeah.
I feel like
That's
that
a
would
good
work
point.
on a
That's
cheetah.
really
Yeah. And like I said, this is never gonna happen, so no one can tell me I'm wrong.
We're finally done debating the 100 men versus one gorilla thing. I feel like this is reopening that can of worms.
I don't want to get back into that conversation.
What do you guys think about that one?
Go ahead and get back into it.
Look, man, 100 men, easy. Okay, and
I agree.
The only reason I say that is because the stamina aspect. And also, 100 people is a lot of
people. You lose probably 7
people. You can
people.
surround the gorilla. The gorilla can only attack in one direction. You've got 100 people surrounding it. I don't think this should have ever been a question in the first place.
You get one guy up on his shoulders, get his ears.
Oh, yeah. Ears are easy.
Yeah, huge advantage.
Yeah.
But now that I'm thinking about it, dude, if I'm one of the 100 men, I'm just gonna be like, y'all got this.
I know.
I want to be in the last 10% of people attacking the gorilla.
Yeah.
That is exactly why I think the gorilla would win, because you would have to sacrifice.
So you think the gorilla would win?
Yeah, because 100 men beating the gorilla would require a sacrifice of at least 10, I think, and none of those people would be willing to do that. Which is
You
why
would though if you're in a stadium and it's you got to do it now. You can't get out, so the gorilla's dead or you're all dead.
It's who's going first,
There's one guy that's I fucking got this, dude. There's one guy for sure.
There's got to be one guy. Step back, kids. Yeah.
Now a koala bear, easy.
I could do a koala bear solo, dude.
Easy. Yeah.
Don't they have syphilis or something crazy though?
I think 98% of koalas have syphilis. This is true. Yeah.
I've
They
never
can
seen.
get aggressive too.
I thought no. I'm
More
thinking of
aggressive than
sloths.
me, man.
Sloths are really slow.
Oh yeah.
Are koalas not slow though?
I think they're slow. I think they're.
I've seen them. I mean, they kind of skitter. They can really move.
Yeah.
I've seen videos of them really skittering.
Yeah.
Skittering. It's a good word.
That's what it looks like. Yeah, I don't know. So they can be quick, I think. Yeah.
So I would say that Shedbug's music is really good music to fight wildlife to. If you are ever in the octagon with a cheetah, throw on the 20-minute neon gods we have on the.
Way to bring it back in there for us. Rein us back in.
You asked us what we think about it. I think it's good fighting wildlife music.
Okay.
I think that's a good some if I'm fighting a bear and inevitably losing, even though my ego won't let me say that.
What's the DMX quote? If you see me fighting in the bear with the woods, help the bear.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
If Half Baked Potato's playing, game over. I've got a new rug. That's all I need.
My God.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps up all of my questions, I think. Is there anything that you guys want to plug before we wrap this up?
Our next show will be All Jammed Up.
Hell yeah.
The All Jammed Up Festival, and we could not be more excited.
We are really stoked for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm stoked that you guys are playing. I'm stoked that we got to do this interview. Glad I got to know you guys a bit more.
Same, man. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
Seriously, it's been amazing.
Hell yeah. All Jammed Up. Buy your tickets July 19th.
All jammed up.
Buy 'em.
You just got jammed.
Welcome back from that interview with the fellas from Shedbugs. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Probably a new band for a lot of people's radar that aren't local to Asheville, and it's a perfect time to come see them July 19th at One Wood Brewing for the All Jammed Up Fest. So go buy your tickets now. Link is in the bio, or link is in the description to this, whatever you're watching it on, YouTube or Spotify or Apple. Yeah, buy your tickets, guys. It's going to be an absolute blast. Another fun interview coming on Thursday with Forest City Press. His name is Chris, but his Instagram name is Forest City Press. We get into, his musical interest, how he got into shirt pressing, and you guys know I pride myself on the research I do before the interviews, and I really dropped the ball on this one. So that'll be fun for you guys to hear about, and hell yeah, guys. So have a great week. See you guys on Thursday, and remember, wherever you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Come along, have a drink with me. We can talk about the world and how the world it turns so slow. Day and night I found cars they drive and planes they fly. I look into the sun and the sky, you're so bright. It's you that I have found. Oh, and I know there's not much longer now. Or if the world would just slow down. Stars, they sail across the sky, and I could watch you dance all through the night. When the rhythm is right, oh, and I know the sun is rising now. Or if the world would just slow down. With me and I'll move with you, and I could spend the rest of my life by your side. It's you that I have found. Oh, and I know it's not much longer now. Or if the world would just slow down. There's not much longer now. Or if the world would just slow down.